This is the last year's 10 years of the apartment market in Alameda County, 10 units or more. So the upper left-hand corner, that's the dollar value. Now the 2009 is only through June, so it will get a little bigger. I'm sorry to say that it's not going to get that much bigger. Okay? It's not going to make any difference in the trend. The cap rate. Now this is important because where they were able to get an 8% return on their billings. And that went down so that meant as investors were forced to accept lower and lower rates of return, the prices went up. And now that's reversed. You can see 2008 and so far into 2009 the cap rates are going up, which means the prices are coming down. So I expect as we get into through the end of this year and into next year, cap rates are going to continue to drift down or drift up, and prices are going to be drifting down this year into next year. I just don't know how much longer into next year. And gross rent multipliers. This next chart is a comparison of interest rates, three interest rates, over a period from 1976 to the present. The yellow line is the federal funds rate. Now that's the key short-term rate from the Federal Reserve. You can see that that is near zero now. The black line is the cost of funds index. That's one of several indices that is used on your adjustable rate mortgages. And that is a weighted average of short-term rates. And you can see the black line follows the yellow line fairly closely because they're all short-term rates. The red line is the 10-year Treasury bond yield. That is set by the bond market, not by the Federal Reserve. So and that is a key to your fixed rate loans. So if you go out and you get an apartment loan, a 5-year fixed loan, and then it adjusts thereafter, when you get your interest rate at the beginning, it depends on what the bond market is at that day practically. And when you set your rate for a fixed rate loan, you want a bond rally, because that pushes the bond yield down, which presses your interest rate down. Okay, that's how that works. Now, I want to draw your attention to earlier in the graph, much earlier, 1979, 1980. What is going on here? Look at the yellow line, it spikes up to 20%. That is the Federal Reserve's answer to inflation. That's what happened in the last round of inflation we had, 1979, 1980. And what they also did to combat inflation, they withdrew reserves from the banking system. By doing both of those things, they caused the recession of 81, 82, and into 83. The other thing is, I got in the business in 1978, and the apartment market was going great, rents were going up, inflation was there. 1979, inflation kept on going up, rents were going up like crazy. 1979, and you remember, we got rent control in Berkeley, in San Francisco. In 1980, we got rent control in Oakland. In the first few years, Oakland owners had 12% increases with no questions asked. Today, it's 0.7%, okay? My first rent survey I did in 1979 in Oakland, 2 districts of Lake Merritt, and the average rent was $196. In 1982, 4 years later, the average rent of those same districts was $317. So that meant that over that 4-year period, rents in Oakland went up in excess of 15% a year. And the average, the inflation rate peaked at about 13 or 14%. So retrospectively, I proved that in inflation, rents keep up or exceed inflation. this next area I call jobs, jobs, jobs. Now, in the real estate market, it's location, 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 right? But in the rental market, it's jobs, jobs, jobs. I've proven the relationship between jobs and rents. Job growth drives rent growth, and rent growth drives apartment values. Okay, you see the relationship? Now, the top part of this is job growth. The bottom is rent growth. And job growth is nothing more than a year-over-year comparison of total number of jobs. In the blue is East Bay or Alameda County, and the green is San Francisco. So we have positive job growth from 1994, beginning right there. And in 95, you see the green line 95, that's when both sides of the bay, San Francisco and East Bay, went into positive job growth. Positive job growth, anything above this 0% line, okay? And we had a long, long run of positive job growth during that time. Now let's look at the rents. Look down here. You can see that we also had a long run of positive rent growth. Rents were going up about 10% a year. And then we had a run up to the dot-com days. Look at 5% of the workforce was being added near the end of that run up. And look at rents responded. Rents spiked up 30% or more in the run up. We had the tech bust. We have job growth plunging, and we have rent growth plunging. And when rent growth plunged below the 0% line, that meant the rents went down. And look what happened in 2002 into 2003. The rents were going down over between 10 and 20%. And I'm sure those of you in the business then remember how difficult it was to rent apartments in 2002, 2003. Okay? And then the job market picked up, and look what happened to rent growth. Now, it's important to know that all this negative territory down here, rents were still going down, but they were just going down here at a slower pace. Rents only really went up when they hit this line. Look at our job growth here at the end, 2004 into 2005 is going positive, and rent growth is right behind. So, rent growth follows job growth. And the rule is when job growth goes on both sides of the bay goes positive, rents go up. When job growth on both sides of the bay goes negative, rents go down. And from here, right about here, when rents started going negative, rent growth went negative, to here, right about when rent started going up, is about a 3-year period. And we're about a year into a period of rents going down. This is the same idea, except job growth against vacancies. Look at the near perfect symmetry. Job growth plunges, vacancies spike up.